Okay, my guest, Leo Zagami from Sicily. This is his first interview on American radio, and this is the first of several interviews I'm going to have with Mr. Zagami, because we talked earlier, and there's just so much to get into: names, places, tying the knot.
It's quite a long story. It's quite a long story.
It is.
Like you said, it's really intricate, and I hope that the people at least, they understand that is a web of a diabolical proportions, whereby either you study for many years all the systems and rites and sects and whatever, or otherwise you're not going to get a grip of it all. Now, what we do in Freemasonry at the high level is to have a perception of the whole system of the Western, what we call the Western initiatic system, which I also think has been decadent for quite a long time. That's why we don't really have any true masters here in the West that can claim to do the things they were doing 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever. This decadence has started right with the Illuminati, which were born with a guy who was totally involved with the Jesuits, and obviously we know his name, Adam Weishaupt, and his Spartacus inside name, which was later used by the communist organization of the same name in Germany, because what I think unfortunately, I sent you a document about it, but it's in Italian, and it's a bit complicated for you to translate it now, but I will do it myself soon. The catastrophe of it all is that at the beginning, the Illuminati Order was founded with a belief that things could change actually for the better, but because Weishaupt and the Jesuits were actually totally involved in the black arts, and they were actually themselves atheists at heart, because I think that nowadays we can all say very clearly that most Satanists are atheists at heart. That's the big problem. They don't even believe in a Satan. They just believe in nothing. And that philosophy took over, and in 1782, actually, Baron Knigge, who had made the rituals of the Illuminati, he was a great initiate. He left them. He saw that they were going on the dark side. So the problem which I want to point out here is that not all European aristocrats are corrupt. Obviously, the ones that are corrupt prevailed because they accepted money from the usual suspects, and that's the Jews linked to the Zionist plot, because not all Jews are the same, but the ones who have devised the Zionist plot are on top of it all. They are the finance of the situation. The Jesuits are the mind, let's say, of the situation, because they want to control the mind of the people. Do you want to ask me something specifically, Greg, which might interest the American people in this situation?
You know what? Well, yes, it's a fantastic background here, what you're giving us, and that is the Jesuits, the Vatican. You've come out very strongly regarding these organizations, the Jesuits.
Well, because I belong to them, and I belong to them until I understood that really there was no hope for their souls. In what I was mentioning earlier, the conference of San Cerbone that took place on the 3rd of June near Pisa. The problem was really that I reiterated that the maneuver that the Grand Orient of France did in 1870, when they went atheists and they let the atheists inside their lodges, was just like the final chapter of the dissolution of true Masonic Christian belief, if there was one at the beginning. And I believe,
you know something? Let's get back to this. You were actually still involved with them as far back as just recently, as of June. You were at the Monte Carlo Lodge, P2 Lodge. You were a 33rd degree Mason. Tell us what happened there in June at that meeting.
At that meeting, basically everything was. I arrived from Monte Carlo, where I had been a few days at the house of Giuntia, who is the second in command after Licio Gelli, who was also involved in this tragedy Bologna, but that was absorbed, who after 7 months was absorbed, and he now is clear of all by legal, at least in legal way. But at the end of the day, who these people were working for? Let's be clear to the American public. These people were working for your intelligence. This is Gladio. This is an American creation. Obviously, the mind can come, the spiritual mind can come from the Vatican, because the American, the United States government searches for a blessing in this new world order, which they have had since their foundations with the Illuminati, and that blessing needs to be always present. Now, the important, also another important element, was Marcinkus, who died just recently in San City, Arizona, and until actually his death, he was still considered, though, by the Monte Carlo Lodge an important character, even if the Vatican officially said he died poor and left on the side of the. So
you're saying that Cardinal Marcinkus, the former head of the Vatican Bank, who was just recently died in Phoenix, was a member of the Monte Carlo P2 Lodge?
Yes, and what I can assure you that, because I mean, being an insider of the lodge, I saw who the brothers were, who they were not. What I can tell you about Marcinkus, and what I can tell you at least about the people at his level in the Vatican who belong to such lodges of Illuminati, is that we call them brothers at the ear, meaning that when the Grand Master calls, they recognize the voice and they know that the orders come from the ear, but no trace is ever left on papers. These are not the ordinary Masons that go in lodges, wear aprons and do the whole show. No, no, no. These are people in charge of very powerful posts that Freemasonry has. In fact, Licio Gelli, at the time when he founded, the P2 was already existent, but then he founded his own P2 because he went on, even after in the Grand Orient, there was an internal war.
Now, you knew Licio Gelli, correct? You know Licio Gelli, right?
Was, I started, you see, in my art world, I was a DJ. I worked in 1988 for a club that belonged to a member of the P2, and through that, and I was living in Arezzo. As you know, Licio Gelli is living there in Villa Vanda, and I got in contact then directly to him, and through also a person that I was involved with personally at a sentimental level at the time. And after that, Licio Gelli was, let's say, a person which I knew about, but I didn't want to be too close. It was actually later when I was actually wanting to really sort out the situation.
Leo, can you hold that thought, because we're going to take a break. Be back in 4 minutes with Leo Zagami on the Investigative Journal.